Hi, my name is Jessica West. I am a senior researcher at Project Ploughshares, which is a Canadian Peace and Research Institute, and I'm pleased to have the chance to talk to you about the research that I have been doing to map the existing normative landscape in outer space. My intention with this work is to take advantage of momentum to develop norms related to safety and sustainability and to think about how those can be applied and extended to prevailing military and security activities with the goal of reducing the level of threat or perceived threat within the environment. Why norms? Why does this matter? Efforts to address security concerns in outer space at the international level through treaties or other formal rules have been stalled for decades. Yet, the level of threat in the space environment continues to grow. Clearly, we need to do something different. Focusing on norms of good behavior is one such opportunity. Norms refer to social expectations of behavior that are rooted in a sense of oughtness and deeply embedded in shared values and moral standards. So rather than taking a stick approach to bad behavior in outer space, I'm interested in the carrots. I want to know what kind of behaviors make us feel safe and secure, and how we can extend those good behaviors to reduce the level of perceived threat within the space environment. A major part of this research involved a survey of global space experts to probe the relationship between safety and sustainability practices on one hand and military practices on the other. We received detailed comments from over 100 individuals from 15 different countries, and we used this feedback to help refine our assumptions that were underpinning the research, as well as to identify the types of military activities that we may want to influence, as well as the existing practices that might be informative. Please note that you can access a report of the survey at the link indicated on this slide. So it might not be surprising that survey respondents identified both safety and sustainability norms as having a positive impact on the outer space environment, which is great. But more importantly for our research, participants agreed that both safety and sustainability are directly related to military and security activities. Not only is there broad agreement that security is not possible without safety and sustainability, there was also fairly consistent concern about the possible negative impact that military and defense-related activities might have on safety and sustainability. Survey participants identified a number of emerging behaviors linked to military and defense activities in outer space as ripe for normative development. Some of those include activities related to debris-causing events, rendezvous and proximity operations, radio frequency interference, the use of lasers. More details are available on the slide. But of course, for better or for worse, norms already influence behavior in outer space. So, what does this existing normative terrain look like? The second part of my research has involved mapping this landscape as a guide to enhancing the security environment in outer space. Specifically, I started by collecting the types of materials that inform and reflect existing practices in outer space. This includes treaties, national laws, adopted guidelines and international standards, bilateral agreements, prevailing practices, and proposed measures. And I coded those documents with an eye to what they tell us about the values that inform global space governance, the activities for which we already expect a certain standard of behavior, what those behaviors or best practices are, as well as the mechanisms that underpin them and that make them possible. What does this look like? It's a mess. Just kidding. As you can see from the coding bubble chart, there are a lot of persistent themes that emerge from the research and that I believe we can use to inform better security practices in outer space. Looking at the values embedded in global space governance, it's clear that peace and security are prominent. This is not only a value in its own right, but is also closely connected to other goals, including environmental protection, safety, sovereignty, and national security. Next, I looked at the type of activities that are mentioned in existing governance documents and considered how they map onto the values scheme that I developed. And it's really refreshing to see that there are already a number of activities for which there are expectations of good practice. Most of these are linked to safety and environmental protection, but there is also a sizable collection of security-related activities included on this list. This includes things such as weapons tests, missile launches, arms control verification activities, and it involves a lot of overlap with environmental issues as well. Hazard detection is another area where you see an overlap of activities as well as values and goals. Looking at these values and activities as a whole, what does good behavior currently look like? There's a lot of detail here, so I have organized these into 4 broad categories. This includes constraints. There are already a number of behaviors that we know we should avoid. Communication, sharing with other states and other operators, what you are doing, where, and flagging any potential hazard is a core set of practices. Practicing due regard for the safety of others and the sustainability of the environment is also a significant source of good practice already. And the need to take into consideration design practices is increasingly recognized as a standard of good behavior. And although these have been slotted into different lists here, there's really a lot of overlap among the categories, and some of the practices can clearly achieve multiple objectives. Finally, what are the tools to implement these good practices? The how of good behavior is often overlooked, but it can't take place without supporting mechanisms in place. And like the behaviors themselves, many of these can achieve multiple functions and purposes. For security practices, a few stand out as being relevant, but currently missing. These include consultation mechanisms and hotlines, dispute resolution mechanisms, and while there is considerable scope to ramp up shared monitoring and detecting capabilities, that has yet to happen at a global level. So what does this mean? Clearly, conflict prevention and arms control are long-standing goals of space governance. It is imperative that we take steps to realize this goal. Critically, we already have a lot of tools available to make space more secure if we apply them. Many behaviors and best practices linked to safety and sustainability can be extended to security operators. So where can we start? The next phase of our research involves a workshop to take our map of existing norms and try to tease out concrete ways to apply them in a security or a more military context. But a few things already stand out. These include activities linked to notification practices, having better channels of communication, possibly protections for critical systems, and restricting the intentional creation of debris on orbit. Thank you for listening. The slides and paper present much more detail than I can cover in a short presentation, so I hope that you can take the time to look these over more carefully. Please reach out if you have questions, if you want to know more, or if you would like to be a part of our upcoming workshop. Thank you.